Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and that was another flood at one of our properties after our crazy cold spell. And this is us pulling up to see it for the first time, but I was sent that video by a contractor who was going to our shop where we store materials for different things like the laundromat and flips and rentals. And as you can see, it flooded. So we had record cold weather. It got down to minus 29 last week. We thought we were done with most of the breaks, but this shop obviously had some frozen pipes that thawed out and caused this. So not a fun way to start your week or Monday, but not much else we can do but deal with it and try and figure out what happened and where to go from here. So as you can see, we do have shelves with a lot of our stuff on shelves, but then not everything is on shelves. So we definitely have some stuff that will be damaged, need to be thrown out, but there isn't anything that's incredibly super valuable in here either. And the culprit was this bathroom that has heat in it, but the toilet line popped off, and so it probably froze and then thawed and just started spraying like crazy from there. So I don't know if the heaters stopped working or if somebody didn't, adhere to the sign that says please keep this door shut at all times. Not sure, but yes, this bathroom is not the most amazing bathroom. It's just a shop bathroom that no one ever uses except my contractors once in a while. And yes, we do have some plants growing in there. It is definitely way colder in this building than it is outside. So, but we've got some concrete, some tiles, some appliances, cabinets, all kinds of stuff that was on the floor. So our guys are trying to get as much water out as possible and then move the stuff that is wood, can absorb water, onto dry areas, dry spots, and hopefully, we won't lose too many things. But a lot of this stuff is extra stuff we may or may not use. Like I said, a lot of these appliances here, these fridges are actually broken. That coin op is broken. So it's not like a lot of them are very valuable items that'll get super damaged. But still annoying that this happened. And we've had this property for 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years, and never had a leak before. So this is the property when it first became vacant. And this is part of the compound. So I've got the complex, the compound, the Ocho, some other interesting properties. This property had 3 houses and this commercial building on it when I bought it. The houses were completely run down. Tenants weren't paying rent, and it had a car repair service renting this building when I bought it. It was an awesome deal. We ended up going through offering cash for keys to the tenants. We had to do 1 eviction and rehab the houses, fix them up, got them rented. Those houses are all rented now. We've had very few problems here at this property. We did have a tree fall down after either wind or lightning. There's one of the houses over there, the White House. That actually had, we thought the pipes had frozen it, but I think a dishwasher fitting broke. Maybe it's from the cold, but that happened last week. We got that fixed. And then we had another house where a tree fell, not on the house, but just in the yard. And then a car actually drove through their fence too. So some issues that weren't related to us. There's another house over there, the small red one. We did have a few people try and squat and live in that house while it was being rehabbed. We called the police. They got arrested. But that's another story too. And then there's a big highway right here. And then there's the other house. That's where the car kind of drove through the fence and had the tree fall down. That left part of that big tree on the left fell down. Now this property actually has 3 lots, is right on the highway, could have future development, but the county pretty much forced us to kick out the tenants in the repair shop. And so this is a crazy situation. I have a lot of those, with the city just being ridiculous in their requests for us. So basically what they said is this whole zone is like a Highway 85, I don't even know what they call it, business enterprise zone, some fancy name for it, where they pretty much said they want like fancy retail with lofts on the 2nd floor and this really cool vibe. And it's Evans, Colorado, with a bunch of industrial and car repair places, and it's just never going to be what they wanted it to be. And one time I counted, there were like something like 12 car repair places in this zone within like a 1.5 miles or 2 miles of this property. And the city basically said it's illegal to have this car repair place. It's against zoning. you can't have it here, even though it was grandfathered in and been here a long time. And so we would have to do a variance. That's when the place was operating there, in order to allow this car repair place to be here. And so we had the city come out, we had them look at the property, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, you just have to do a few things here. They're like, oh, you need to get a surveyor out here because your lot line is too close to the building. You've got to get an engineer out here because we found some cracks in the building. You've got to get an architect out here and make sure that this code is all compliant. They want us to spend like $25,000 or something crazy just to do a variance to let this car repair place stay. So unfortunately, that just didn't make sense when they're renting it from us for like, I think it was $1,600 a month or something like that at the time. And so we told them, unfortunately, their lease was up. Hey, we can't lease it to you anymore. So they had to leave. I tried to find them a different spot. Couldn't do it, but they did end up finding a different spot to lease. So that was good. But that left me with this vacant building that made it very difficult. Oh, that's true. See, I shut down the audio on this previous video. The city had claimed this was a chop shop too, and they're doing illegal stuff. Never saw that at all, ever, in my experience. Never saw any sign of it. They kept giving us code violations too, because they had cars there without plates and different stuff, and they'd move them. It's just, they really were trying to push people out. I can't imagine the other businesses along here were paying that much for their variances and different things, but a lot of them still stayed and are still there. And almost no development has been done along this area either in the last 4 or 5 years. I think one truck stop was rebuilt into another truck stop. But they kept telling me how, oh, they're tearing this down, they're building buildings here. The city actually came through and tore down a shopping mall, not a big mall, a shopping center, I should say, storage facilities, buildings, thinking by tearing all this stuff down and leaving vacant land, it would encourage development. There's still a bunch of vacant land there years later, just sitting there. So I would have loved to buy some of those buildings too that were like, storage shop space. It was perfect for me, but they decided to buy it and tear it down. Anyway, so this building, I couldn't do much with it because the city wouldn't allow, a business to go in unless it was like this high-end retail stuff, or we did this variance, which would cost us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars with the survey, the engineers, the architects, all that. And who knows? And that's just to get the inspections done. Who knows, what they would have said or required after all those reports were done. And I don't know. But I have been talking to some different people, and it turns out some of the people who were working with the city at that time no longer work with the city. And they're telling me it's much easier to work with the city now. And if I did want to do something here, it might be easier to do that now. So will I? Will I not? I'm not sure. It's working out pretty well as a storage facility, as you can see from the flood and everything that happened and all that. But it is nice to have a place to store stuff, have a shop. It definitely would make more sense if I had it rented and was getting a lot more rent in there. You can see the bathroom looks pretty much the same as it did now, as it did back then. So I don't know. We'll probably leave it as it is, as a storage shop. But it was nice to know that, hey, maybe it's a little easier to work with the city now. And I'll keep that in mind. So there's always the possibility of this being developed at some point in the future, too, with it being right on the highway, with it having, these lots all together. And, someone could come along, tear everything down, build something new there. What it is, what it isn't, who knows? But there's that possibility. So that's why I kind of like this property, because it had the opportunity for me to come in, collect rents, fix it up, and then at some point in the future, it might be worth a lot more money for development, or you could sell it as it is, or just keep collecting rents. So I think, we collect about $1,200 a month for each of the houses. Like I said, we were collecting $1,600 a month for this, but now it's kind of my own shop, which would cost me, no matter where I had this. And I paid $410,000 for this property total. And we probably spent, $100,000, $150,000 on rehabs and different stuff and fixing it up. But it's probably worth $800,000 to $900,000 now if I were to sell stuff off separately, or even possibly sell it off as a big chunk. So it's been a good property. It's been an interesting experience. And it's a neat property too. Obviously very old, kind of used to be a glass company at some point, obviously from the writing on the outside. So there's the property, there's the flood, there's some of the history on this property and what's happened here. And I guess we'll just keep chugging away and keeping things as they are here. And then at some point in the future, maybe we'll think about renting it out, maybe not. But it works out pretty well as a shop for myself. All right, thanks for watching. Hopefully everyone else survived the cold better than we did. We'll be back with more videos of my other properties, commercial, residential, multifamily, the laundromats, liquor stores, all that here coming up soon.